I'm here with Alex from Silver Snakes. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
So you guys are on tour with Combi Christ right now. How's the tour been so far?
Tour's been good. It's covering a lot of ground. We're covering a lot of places we haven't been to in a few years. So it's really good to get back out there. It's been about a year and a half since we've been on the road. So we're getting to revisit a lot of cool cities and see a lot of new ones, especially in Canada. We're in a lot of new places that we've never played before, never thought we'd be playing in. So.
And how has the fan response been to the new tracks
great.
from the new album?
It's been really good. It's we were unsure of how it would go over. We've never done a tour like this before. That was more like electro, like not industrial based, but more on like the dancey, upbeat, that side of things. You know what I mean? We've done a lot of pure just rock tours for the last few years. So diving into it with this new record and kind of a new sound and a new outlook for the most part, it's been really cool to see the response. It's been really good. The shows have been a lot of fun.
Looking back at the record came out earlier this month. Mm-hmm. How do you feel now looking back at it? Did you get everything that you wanted out of this record?
Yes. Yeah, it's this is the record that I've wanted to do with Silver Snakes for years. And it's funny, I feel like I say that every time we put out a new record, but I feel like all of those have been inching to this. And especially with the EP we did a couple years ago called Scathe, which was a bunch of cover songs, that really like lit this fire that made me want to dive further into like the electronic aspects of the music and just experiment and do new things. And I produced the record myself, and I had the space and the freedom to do that. You know, I don't have any regrets on it, and I'm really happy with how it came out. We had a really great team of people work on the record as well, from the production side, and yeah, I'm very happy with how it came out, and there's nothing I would change about it.
Listening to the record, I felt a little bit of a melancholic vibe to it. Mm-hmm. Is that a representation of who you are as an artist?
I think so. I mean, everyone has their own, say demeanor, and I've never been much of a super like chipper guy or something like that. You know what I mean? And I like to have a good time, and I'm not a miserable like melancholic person per se. You know what I mean? But when it comes to music, like I take music very seriously. I don't like goofy music. I can't see myself ever writing like some kind of fun summer anthem or anything like that. It's just not me. And there's some stuff like that I like, but for this band, I like to keep it serious and keep it focused. And I've always written about serious things and things that held a very, important place in me. And with this record, especially from where it was coming from, like Death in the Moon, it's two-sided. Half of it is, it's about the ultimate end of the day and in life. You know what I mean? So I was coming off the heels of a big loss in my family. I lost my godfather, and I wrote the record. I was writing the record while that happened, and it kind of took on a whole different life when that happened, and sent me in a different direction, especially lyrically. And things got a bit darker and a bit more. It just became real. It was a very self-aware album, and in the past, with our last few records, I tried writing about different like struggles or social things that I believed in, and it always had a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And I think with this record, it covers an ending that we all know is there. You know what I mean? Like, we're always going to have the finality of death. And, the moon is what inspired the album. Being up at night and just writing those songs late at night. And it's the one thing you could really count on every day, is that you're going to have that hour when, the clock strikes whatever, and all of a sudden inspiration hits you. So it's kind of an homage to those things.
Speaking of inspiration, I mean, I felt a lot of influences from bands like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, Garbage to a certain extent. What is it about those bands that have had such a lasting effect on your style, on your music, on your writing?
I think it's just, there's like a window when you're developing as a musician or a songwriter where you just absorb everything. Like anything else, like any hobby or anything you learn from, there is that window where you absorb the most of it. And between the ages of, we'll say like 12 years old to like 15, that's when like I was obsessed with playing guitar. And I like to say I plateaued at a young age. Like, I haven't really practiced guitar. I never got much better. I don't shred at guitar or anything like that. But in those few crucial years, my obsessions were the Smashing Pumpkins. I loved Nine Inch Nails. I loved Garbage. Garbage has stayed one of my favorite bands my whole life. And those are, it's something that as I get older, and we tour with a lot of bands that are a bit younger than us. By no means are we ancient up there or anything, but even when we tour with bands these days, it's rare when I see bands that are doing anything that pays homage to those types of bands. I don't see that music really covered. And it might be because it's more mainstream and we're used to running around in more of like an underground circle, you could say. But it's been really cool to like actually pull those influences from the past and tie them into modern influences as well. We're really into a lot of like doomy, like stoner rock and stuff like that. And that's not something you really hear, is like fuzzed out guitars and like big guitar riffs mixed with those electronic aspects and the melodic hooks from the other side. So it's been really fun to try to combine the two and kind of, you know, forge our own path in that.
I felt the album really did that extremely well. Mixed in with that melancholic of the lyrics, it really created a thick punch, if you will. Do you find that this album live still carries its true uniqueness?
I think even more so live. With our albums, a lot of it is me alone in the studio, just with instruments around me and just adding layer upon layer upon layer, and then the guys will come in and we'll develop them more and more. But once we start playing these songs live, they just take on a life of themselves, of their own, you know. And I find I notch my own way into how I want to be singing and how I want to be performing the guitar stuff. And there's a lot of stuff in the studio that I play and I cover the, you know, the instrumentation, but I can't do that live when I'm singing. So like on this tour, for example, I'm just singing way more than I ever have in the past. I'm not playing guitar most of the time. And with doing that, it's allowing us to interpret these songs in different ways. And same thing, bringing all the electronic, like the beats and all the drum layers and the drum machines that have been layered on in the studio, bringing those to life with a live drummer has been really fun. And just, we've gotten into the swing of things with this tour, especially where playing these new songs we're having a blast and people are feeding off of it. And more than anything, the one thing that's always stayed constant with the band is we like to have like a hypnotic quality live, especially, whereas some bands would like, we want to see you dance, we want to see you, you know, mosh, we want to see you, you know, go nuts. And more than anything, I want to see people I want their full focus, you know. I don't want their phones out, I don't want them talking to their friends. I just want to see like the eyes straight on us. And sometimes they look confused and sometimes you just see them kind of swaying, and then as soon as the set is over, it's just like everyone takes a deep breath. And like that's what I long for in a set when we're playing live. I just want that like communal feeling of, you know, being entranced with something in front of them. And I feel like these new songs have been doing that more than anything else we've done in the past. Even with the more droney, lengthier, you know, songs we had in our back catalog, this set, even with these shorter 3 to 4 minute songs, they're just really grabbing people by the throats and just holding their attention in front of us. And like that's what we've always strived for. So
the Silver Snakes, more than any other thing you've ever done, capture the essence of who you are as a musician? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I believe so. I fully believe so. Anything else I did in the past, other bands, a lot of it revolved around the idea that it was someone else's project. So before Silver Snakes, I sang for a band called Cathedrals, which was like an LA-based, kind of like a D-beat metal, like crusty punk band, really heavy stuff. And a good friend of mine wrote all the music, and like I just came in and put some vocals down, kind of just screaming my ass off up there for a bit, and that was it. But with this band, from the get-go, it has always been like, okay, this is what I want to do. It started as a solo project, and as I started bringing in other people and making it more of a band and making sure that we had like a communal agreement as to where we would go with the music from album to album. And sometimes I kind of scare off the other guys in the band when I tell them like, hey, I want to do something new, because that's not really common in rock music, or at least in the world of rock music that we came up from. It was, you establish your sound and you build off of that and you win fans along the way. But that's just, I never had interest in that, and I would more so love to just make a record and be like, okay, been there, done that, make the next one, been there, done that, and just keep going. And I feel like we've lost some fans along the way because we don't dive into our back catalog a lot. We play a few old songs, but we don't play anything off of our first 2 records right now on this tour, especially, and off our last record, just a few songs. But for me, it's all about, you know, living in the now with this music and just pushing forward. And when we do the next record, I'm sure it'll stay the same way. But for now, I really want to dive further into this direction we've been headed. So I think that there's going to be longevity in these songs that we're doing currently.
With this tour almost wrapping up, I have to ask you this. Do you have a dream tour in terms of bands you would love to tour with?
There's some up there. I would love to tour with Garbage. That's my big one, because I have so much respect for that band, and that would be incredible just to do something like that. And Shirley Manson is such a big like vocal influence on me, and just her lyrics and her delivery, and just the guys in the band, like the producers from a production standpoint, because that's what I do when I'm home. When I'm not on the road, I'm producing other bands. And since I'm producing our records, a lot of the influence, when I say Garbage is a big influence, comes from that side of it. It's not just their songs, Shirley's vocals, it's coming from actual production techniques in their records that lead into inspiration that develop our songs. So Garbage is a big one. There's some other like kind of odds and ends that, like, in Europe I have my dream tours compared to like in the States I have my dream tours. I would love to tour Europe with Cult of Luna. That's one of our favorite bands collectively. Something like that. Some of those stoner rock bands, Windhand, Sleep, Ohm, like those are all bands we love. The Smashing Pumpkins would be one that would just drive me crazy. So I would love to put together my dream bill in my head that's just something insane, like Garbage, Cult of Luna, with, you know, maybe like a more modern band I like Drab Majesty or something, and us, and I'd be very happy.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it would be an interesting
very
lineup.
Eclectic lineup, I would say.
I mean, I'm not even dabbling into like, you know, salsa and cumbia and stuff like that when we go that route, but I could run wild with it and like put together something crazy if I tried.
That takes me to my my last question, your heritage.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not know, but you've done some mariachi stuff in the past. How much of your heritage impacts your music choices and your music style and the music that you put together with the band?
You know, it's not very obvious. More so, it just shaped me as a musician. I came up learning how to play a lot of mariachi music. My dad's mariachi. My mom was a folklorico dancer with Linda Ronstadt. So my whole youth revolved around that, and being at mariachi restaurants and watching those performances. And like, I've never played with them on stage, but that's something that's a type of music that is just ingrained into your blood and your bones. You know what I mean? So even if I've never been up there with them, I could pick up a guitar and find my way around it. And with that comes, you know, I think that type of music in general is so, it's not well understood by most people, and at the same time I think it's taken for granted and a lot of people overlook it as being one thing. But man, if you dive into that world, it's incredible. The musicianship is insane, and like the chord progressions and everything from that, the musical standpoint, the melodic standpoint, the lyrical standpoint, like there's stories, and everyone has, you know, their heritage and the music of their upbringing and their folk history and all of that. But like, mariachi's had such a big impact on me in terms of just, it's its own world, and it's always nice to feel like you have your own thing in the midst of everyone else. And with the types of music scenes that Silver Snakes has been running around, I've never met anyone else that's just like, cool, I'm really influenced by mariachi music. You know what I mean? It's not something that's very common. Yeah. So it's really nice to have something that I feel like I keep to myself, that is part of me, like in here, that isn't just like, oh yeah, I listen to like polka on the weekends, or hey, I listen to like rap like when I'm at home, or like I love all kinds of music, I really do. But that's something that when my headphones are on, when I'm at home, when I'm not on tour, when I'm not in the studio, I'm listening to that music. I go on tour with my dad sometimes with his group, and I just, you know, I help him out on the road, and I'm just obsessed. I'm there on the side of the stage every night watching the music. I ask him questions. He's my musical hero, so I mean, I could just ask him anything, and just, again, it's a whole other world, and it's had a big impact on me. My uncle is an incredible guitarist, and when you say mariachi guitar to some people, they have this very misconstrued notion that it's just like dun 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 dun. You know, it's almost just like polka straight up. But man, it's very complex, and it develops a lot of rhythmic things that you could carry into different styles that you wouldn't typically do. So drums and guitar are predominantly my main instruments, mainly guitar, but having that background in those rhythms and having that influence pour into me when I'm going to bed at night or writing in the van or whatever, it's just something that ingrains itself like in my right hand. So when I'm writing music, those rhythms are in me, and they can leach out into other aspects of the music, which I feel like is a very unique thing, and I'm very grateful to have that.
Well, Alex, I want to thank you for your time today. Best of luck with the rest of the tour, and let me just say this, you, sir, are a bad hombre.
Thank you very much.
Take care, man.
Thanks.